Hello, hello. How is everybody? Sorry, I'm moving this a little bit. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Mila, how are you? Hello, everyone. I hope everybody has had a good week so far. It's been a very slow-moving week for me for some reason. I'm okay. It's been a pretty decent week. It's just going by super slow. And I'm super tired tonight. I don't know why. Hey, Michelle. I hope you are doing well today or this evening. Probably going to put this headband in so I don't mess with my hair. Is there anything you guys want to? No, I didn't color my hair. It's really just the lighting in this room that makes my hair look different colors. It's still brown. Is there anything you guys want to talk about while we wait for some people to get in here for our topic of discussion tonight? Which I'm pretty sure it ended in what I put in the title, friendships and relationships, but I'm going to triple check. And hope the volume's not on my phone. Let's see. Yeah. Hey, Melody. Yeah, so this week's open discussion poll was a lot closer than I thought it would be. Hey, Jen. Hey, Smiley Mama. Hey, everyone. Yeah, Mila, I think that's something that will always, as long as stereotyping continues and people's thought processes and the way that they're raised don't change, I think that's something that women are going to continue to struggle with and battle with. But I was kind of surprised at, I think this is the first poll I've ever done that has had as many votes as it did. And several topics were kind of neck and neck there for a little while. So it was interesting to see which one ended up pulling out in the forefront. So my plan is for next week, I'm going to just start doing the polls rather than me just deciding. That way you guys have a say in it. And I will rotate the ones that didn't make it. So like next week, the 3 that didn't make it for this week will go in. And if you guys have any suggestions for another topic to add, you guys can suggest it. I'll ask at the end of this live tonight, or you can DM me if you have any suggestions to add. Otherwise, I'll just come up with one on my own. Yeah. I feel like in certain states, it's still the stereotyping of where people think women should be, I should put that in quotes, is really dependent on where you're at, what state you're in, what area you're in, what the culture is around wherever you're at is kind of going to depend on that. Statistically, it's proven that, women aren't given the opportunities men are. And if we are given the opportunities, we're typically paid less. We're not as respected in those jobs. It's super sad. It's super unfortunate. Maybe that should be, my audience is predominantly female, so maybe that can be one that we can put in an open discussion, because we could get into that. I'm sure we all have experienced, people putting a stereotype upon us, or, just not treating us well, whether that be it happened to you professionally or personally. We could probably have a good discussion about that. Hey, Jay. How is everyone who has joined doing? I hope everybody's having a good week. We're halfway through the work week if you work a typical work week. So I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. Just because we had so many people vote, I want to give those opportunities for people who have voted to come into the chat. I don't want to start ahead of time and then maybe miss an area that somebody was interested in talking about. You had Monday off and now you're trying to cram 5 days of work into 4. Yeah, I recently got the, what would be the right term? I was recently approached by my management to change my schedule from, typical 9 to 5 days, or really 8 to 5 days, to 4-10, so working 4 days and 10 hours a day, rather than 5 days at 8 hours a day. So I'm probably going to take them up on that, but I'm still trying to decide if I can wake up that early. So I'm sure I will feel the pain of that very soon. Yeah, Jen, but that's also, I get what you're saying. It's also something that, with the discrimination, the prejudice that people automatically have, whether they realize they do or not, most people have it. Most men particularly have it when it comes to women and being in certain careers or doing certain things as a career. You shouldn't have had to prove yourself for what is that, 12 years? You shouldn't have had to prove yourself for 12 years to be looked at kind of as an equal. That is where the issue lies. The Sherelle and John Yates drama is never ending. Do the live stream stop? I'm trying to figure out what is even going on with him. I've told you guys before, I've heard of Sherelle, but I've never watched her content. I don't really, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody who watches that kind of content where it's a commentary channel about a reality TV show. I don't watch a lot of reality TV like that, like 90 Day Fiance, Teen Mom. When I was younger, I loved that kind of reality TV. Now I typically watch true crime or a movie or something funny. I hardly have time to watch anything on TV anyway, so I don't get into these shows like that. So it's not content I want to consume. So I don't watch their channels because I don't watch the reality TV to even know what they're talking about. So I've never watched Sherelle's World or John Yates. We all know, like, I've watched Katie, but the reason I've watched Katie wasn't for anything to do with her reality TV coverage. If anything, I've avoided all of those videos. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because a few people have asked me to kind of talk about it, and it might be a good idea to talk about it from a perspective of somebody who literally has no connection, no knowledge of anything about their world. whether that be their YouTube community or, you know, them as individuals. I'm trying to just watch the actual incident of what happened and gather information, what led to their friendship and what's been going on. And I'm getting really confused. I will say that. Hey, Terry, how are you? I appreciate you coming in. I hope you have a good night. Yeah, it does seem to be never ending right now. They're both live calling each other liars. I don't know what benefit that has to either one of them, to be quite honest. Like, without even knowing the full scenario, I've got bits and pieces, and I don't know if it's enough to even really talk about. Hey, Susie Q. You rule that department now. Good for you, Jen. You should. Yeah, I'm sorry you experienced that, Michelle. And I'm sure in the Marines it was probably harder than some of the other branches, just due to what they still even today try to portray in movies and in like the media. They don't ever show you a strong, intelligent woman to advertise for them. It's always being on the front line, a big, strong GI Joe guy. It's sad. Mila says the whole thing is absolutely horrible. And so, I mean, honestly, what's going on with them could tie into our topic today of friendships and relationships. And then we can kind of delve in more into more serious aspects of it. Yeah. So I'm not fully aware, as I just said, of what's going on with Sherelle and John Yates. From what I have been able to watch and to gather, they appeared to be somewhat friends. At least they were cordial, and they portrayed cordial to each other online because they cover similar topics. They cover, like, it appears they both cover 90 Day Fiance. That's kind of what they have in common. They do have opposing views of some of the cast members, and I'm assuming their behaviors. So from what I have gathered so far is Sherelle has had John on her channel, and from what I have seen, her channel seems to be kind of a paneled channel. Correct me if any of this is wrong, because I've literally only seen bits and pieces trying to figure out where to start to go through it. So it seems that she does like a panel and talks about whatever topic they are discussing. And John has his own channel and has fewer subscribers than her, and she was having him on her channel, allegedly, from what it seems, from somebody not knowing and trying to figure it out. There maybe was some talk behind the scenes of one another, and people telling them of opinions of the other person, like Sherelle being told, what she was claiming was that she has been told by other people that negative things about John, and John is kind of saying the same thing, that people had come to him and said negative things about Sherelle, to be careful. We know that story. It's as old as time. It's as old as friendships begin. Hey, Claire, I think as people, we all know what that's like. You start a friendship, and then, like in high school, for example, this is kind of what I'm picturing going on, is like in high school, you may be new to an area, and you make one friend. Well, that one friend had a friend before, and that was their best friend. And their best friend that they had previous to you maybe gets jealous of your friendship, or you get jealous of their friendship. And then you start nitpicking that other person, or they start nitpicking you, and they may see you do one thing that they don't think is right. And they go tell the common friend, hey, did you know so-and-so did this, or so-and-so said that? instilling doubt in that person, the mutual friend's mind, right? To start make them questioning everything about that individual. Like, is our friendships even worth it then, right? That's kind of what I see going on with this particular situation and with a whole bunch of creators in general, right? We see all of these dramas and things like that. A lot of it, if you really take a step back, it boils down to just people being people and having emotions. It may be reading too much into a situation or not reading enough into a situation. Not those kinds of things are what kind of seems to be happening. And with this, it seems that both individuals seem to be kind of strong-headed and don't think that either they're not wrong in what they have done and are sticking to it and want to just continue to drag out the fight. And I mean, if that's their prerogative, if they don't care to continue to hop on their platforms, which both of their platforms are larger than mine, and I take it from the stance of I couldn't imagine getting on a live with you guys and just trying to tear apart somebody I was friends with or somebody who, you know, was nice to me and helped me out. Like, I couldn't imagine getting on here and doing something like that. In some situations, do I think it can be excusable? Yeah, but from this scenario, what I have observed and what it seems to be the main issue was, let me know if I'm wrong. Was it John who got mad because he didn't know Sherelle and Perry were married? Is that really what all of this started? Somebody answer that, and then I'll go up and read the chat. Did all of this start because he didn't know that the two were married? Or did this start from something else and that just was the tipping point? Okay, so that is the tipping point. So let me go up and read the chat, and then I'll tell you guys what I think. Ooh, I missed a lot. I'm sorry, guys. Everybody was saying Semper Fi to Michelle, which absolutely, and thanking her for her service. I'm pretty sure most of you guys know my husband is active duty. Well, that's awesome, Jen. I'm glad, you know, you've gained that respect. I don't think you should have had to work for it for 12 years, though. Jay said, actually, hey, Susie Q, if I didn't say hi. Jay said, KJ admitted she talked shit and deleted everything with John, but says she genuinely didn't remember. Yeah, I've seen clips of that. Goes to prove she tweets so much she can't remember her lies. I mean, there's nothing wrong with tweeting that much. It becomes a problem when you're lying so much that you can't even keep your own lies straight. That's why you should just tell the truth. Hey, Della, how are you? I agree, Melody. The world does need moral compasses. And I think Jen is, from what she always has to contribute, she does seem like someone who would be a good person to follow. Hey, Toad's Wild Ride, how are you? You haven't missed too much of anything yet. Susie Q said it should be a private conversation. Sometimes you feel like you're in the Twilight Zone. Mila said they were good friends. She pretended Perry was just another panelist. You feel like John felt deceived. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to talk about. You think John knew, but Cody's partner decided to expose it. I mean, you guys would know more. Like I said, I've never watched any of these channels. I have heard of Sherelle just because I've covered KJ so much. People, when I first started talking about Katie, and not even in a negative way, when I first just made a video including her and discussing some things about her, in my opinion, I had several comments saying I should refer to what happened between the two of them to get context. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't look into it because it's previous. I'm not going to talk about stuff that happened years ago unless it's relevant to current. And Katie has done so many things recently to be able to speak to her patterns of behavior. I haven't felt it necessary to dive that deep. You thought his husband asked and she said yes. You were on a roll. He found out and felt hurt because he had gone to her about an issue he had with Perry, and she said, I will call Perry and talk to him about it, like he wasn't in the same house. Yeah, okay. She's buffering. Am I buffering for anybody else, or has that issue resolved itself? Yeah, lies do catch up with you. We see that happening with several creators at the moment. Hey, Melanie, how are you? Hey, Dottie. Hey, Elf, how are you? Yeah, Susie said sometimes if you go out and come back in, it'll fix the stream. I saw myself freeze for a second, but it didn't last long. Okay, I'm glad it's fixed. So this is just a good segue talking about something that a lot of people seem to be aware of, is talking about this Sherelle and John stuff. And for those who are joining now, keep in mind, if you weren't here when I said, I do not watch these channels. This is my first interaction with them, and I still haven't been able to watch the full story all the way through. So I guess I got the answer that their falling out really started when John found out that Sherelle was married to Perry. I really can see both sides to this argument, which I feel like I say all the time, but I really can, because if you take a step back from Sherelle's and Perry's perspective, even, excuse me, I'm drinking soda, so I apologize. So I can understand being on live, like interacting with audiences, with people you don't know, coming into the internet world. You know, I can speak from experience because this is how I felt. Like, I know there's a potential at some point I might say something that offends somebody. I might tick somebody off. I might, you know, who knows, maybe one day get 1 million subscribers, and there's no way you can please that many people. Look at James Charles, look at anybody with a large following. They always come with a slew of haters. I have said that before. You're always going to have critics. For as many followers as you have, you can guarantee there's going to be a few people right there with them on the total opposite end, not able to agree with you, thinks that you're crappy, whatever it is. I mean, we all have our own opinions. We all know what we like and what we don't like. There's nothing wrong with that. But I can understand going into something like that, starting to gain a following, to be afraid to let people know of certain aspects of yourself. I have been very careful about how I talk about my previous and my current work, due to me never knowing what people online will do. I'm careful about what I show as far as like where I'm at. I always try to have, you know, backgrounds and stuff, because some people, once you gain any kind of like actual fan base that don't like you, you start gaining those people who really are just out to criticize you to the max. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that. I've never done anything to like have it end up in like a scandal or anything, but I don't want my personal information ever leaked. And we all know that that's like the number one thing these people will do, is they will try to get at you personally. They will try to leak your phone number, your address, where you work. They will start contacting your work. I can't necessarily say that I ding Sherelle and Perry for not being open about them being married. Can I see where they're following and maybe somebody like John would be upset and feel defeated because it appears that he thought there was more of a friendship there than maybe what Sherelle was felt. Maybe she alluded and like fed into the fact that there was something more going on as far as like in a friendship or a partnership as far as business goes. And he's feeling that that's something she should have felt comfortable divulging to him. And the fact that she didn't is why he's upset. I can see that as well. Both of those come down to like our personal choices and how we're going to let things affect us. So I can see both sides. Do I think, now if we want to throw Katie into the mix, do I think she really has a place? Because I watched her, part of her, one of her lives where she was, my nose itches, I'm sorry, where she was saying, where she was kind of saying, oh, I know John talked crap about me because she went on his live and I guess he called her out and like caught her in a couple of lies. And she kind of acknowledges it in her own life, but then she turns it to make it against Sherelle. Like Sherelle was a bad person to her, therefore all of the things. I specifically remember hearing her make a comment like, it was wrong for Sherelle not to tell she was married. I don't understand why people are getting so caught up on that. Can I see where people would be upset because they were deceiving people and not telling people? Yeah, but really, what does it have to do with their content? With another creator who they were like close with, again, I can see where he could have his feelings hurt over that. But deep down, I don't see how it's ended up being this huge drama. I really don't understand it. Let me catch up to what you guys are saying. Finding where I left off is always a hard thing for me to do. Let me go. I saw that. Okay. Dottie owns her own business. You should always, especially if it's your own business, you know you have to put your foot down at times just to make sure it gets done the way it's supposed to. Thank you, Elf. I appreciate that. Melody said, sorry about the typing. Anyway, who you surround yourself with is relevant to a situation I'm having with a friend. I shared a little on the community page. Okay. He's not upset that they're married. He's upset that she deceived him. Sherelle feels like, why should I have to disclose my person? Yeah, I can see both sides of the argument, so I don't understand why it's not something that they can just agree to disagree on. And if they can't mend their relationship, whether that be the personal relationship they had or the one on YouTube, that they just go their separate ways. Dottie said, I see both sides, but they are together and he may think he's telling her something that, yeah, but at the same time, that kind of goes back to like high school gossip. You know, if at the end of the day, I understand that we all as humans, we vent to our friends, we vent to family, things like that. However, my thing is, I'm guilty, as I'm sure everybody in the chat are, of having a run-in or a situation with a common friend and you wanting to vent to that other friend to see if they side with you or not, right? I have never actually told a common friend in a friend group of an issue I have with another friend unless I'm okay with them knowing. And I'm the type of person who will actually try to bring the issue to you before it becomes an issue. I've always been that way. And if I say something about someone, even if it's hurtful, if they find out and they want to talk to me about it, or I find out that they found out and they're upset, I'm going to talk to them. However, I typically try to avoid that altogether and talk to somebody who's not involved with the friend group, like my mom or my husband, now that I'm older and married. I always try to talk to somebody maybe unrelated, because at the end of the day, we're just venting and we're kind of looking for either validation or confirmation in maybe what we said or what we did, because we're questioning ourselves or we're questioning the friendship and we want somebody's input on it. Going to somebody who is kind of twined in, I don't think is a good idea ever, unless you are okay with knowing they may be told or find out what you had said. If any of that makes sense. Susie said maybe John's putting on an actual for clicks and views on his channel. An act. Okay. I don't know the channels well enough to know if that's something that they would do. I mean, it's always something as viewers we need to be we need to consider. I heard a lot in one of the clips I saw. I heard a lot of Sherelle and the people on her panel saying that he was jealous of her, and that's why it ended the way it did. Which I would have questions. Like, I want to know why they would make that statement. Because is he jealous of her just because of her larger following? Because you can be supportive of people who have a larger following than you. I am super supportive for Sloan, and I don't, although he has been kind and has shouted me out, I would never expect him to. I would never expect him to, talk about me or mention me at all. He has been kind enough to do that, but I've never asked him to, and I will never ask him to, because I support him in his content. I'm not looking for anything in return. Now, if John was going into the friendship with Sherelle with the idea of maybe getting some of her viewers and stuff like that, well, then there is a chance that he started the relationship with wanting something like that out of it. But we can't just assume because she has a larger platform than him that he's jealous of her. Is it a possibility? It is with anybody when there is a difference in their subscription sizes, if that's something that matters to them. Toads. I clicked follow and oh. Tor. Is that how you pronounce it? Tor? Still talking. I appreciate that, Dottie. I think we are building a really good community. Yeah, nobody who's ever in here is on a bad side. Can people disagree? Yes. If people attack, or I don't want to use the word attack because that has a negative connotation. If people are rude, overtly rude for no reason, or hurtful to myself or anyone else, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're on a bad side. I would just say that they're not supportive of this channel and shouldn't be here. I can see that, Dottie. Dottie said, I think a part of it was maybe he felt they worked together so much and he felt left out not knowing. Yeah, I could see that. But does that warrant them to continue to drag each other and call each other a liar and, try to make a fool out of the other online? I don't know if it warrants that. Della said it was priceless to see Katie try and wiggle out from the uncomfortable situation he had her in. I've seen the clips. The problem is because I don't know the full situation. I see her uncomfortableness. I know her patterns of behavior, so I can tell that she's not happy with what's going on. And I just don't know more about this particular situation. Actually talk about the situation like in depth. You vent to your animals. They're the best listeners. You will never get exposed. Isn't that the truth? I don't think people should go into any kind of relationship expecting anything. Yeah, you shouldn't. If it's a genuine friendship, you're not going to start it off on wanting something or trying to gain something from the other person. If that is why you are starting a relationship or starting any kind of communications with that person, you should never let it cross into the bounds of like personal stuff. And then in that case, I would be kind of in defense of Sherelle. If she wanted that to mainly stay a business relationship, maybe it should have been something that was clarified. But then I don't think she owes it to anybody. At the end of the day, being online, I don't think we owe it to anybody to tell our personal lives unless it's what our content is. And then I expect full transparency. I provide my life to you guys to certain degrees, and I'm fully transparent in those and how I talk with you guys about those. There's certain other parts that I don't talk about and I am very vague about, and I will explain why I'm vague about those things with you. Smiley mama, haha, not anymore. I stay out of drama. I don't like people upset with me. Did I miss something? Or are we talking about you talking to your animals? No. Yeah, I feel like if you're not into like the 90-day fiance reaction stuff or like hardcore watching them, you maybe wouldn't know about this community. I didn't know this community existed. Yeah, Tor, I don't even think I could pronounce that name. I'm not going to try to. I don't want to make a fool of myself, but I will try to remember to refer you as that. I have a bad memory, though, so I might forget. Just remind me. You also believe people can keep certain things private? Absolutely. If you go to a friend in confidence, if it's something that you only trust that individual to tell and they may know of the person or the scenario, if you express to them like, this is something in confidence I want to tell you because I have nowhere else to go, as a good friend, I think that you should be able to do that. And then it really holds to the other person if they value the friendship as much as you do, if they're willing to maintain the confidentiality of what you have told them. Sorry if you guys heard that. I don't know why it made that noise. Jen said, totally random, but I love the eyeliner. Oh, thanks. Eyeliner for me is 50-50. I don't do it often. Did she delete the rant? Is that what I'm just seeing clips of? Did she delete something? I know she's admitted to deleting stuff, but did she delete a rant? Some things do need to be kept off of social media. I agree. What's going on? Dottie, I'm reading your comment and I'm not sure if I totally understand what you're trying to get across. If you want a response to that or that situation, try to, if you could reword it in a way that maybe I wouldn't get confused. I'm not quite sure what's trying to be said there, and I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm sure you know why at this moment, especially without knowing what I'm not grasping what point you're trying to make to have me see, if that makes sense. Your besties are Pomeranians. Jen, who said that 10 times in 3 minutes? Internet has damaged societies. Melody said, I think the internet has damaged society's ability to effectively communicate. And has created a sense of entitlement. The internet, although we all love it, we love what it has done, I can agree with that, because if you really take a step back, it has bridged us across the world. We are able to communicate with anybody who has internet access, which almost all of the world does at this point. So are we able to better educate one another, become more aware of other cultures this way, having the internet? Like, there are so many positives, and I think people don't pay enough attention to the negative outcomes, especially with social media. Social media has such a large presence, and the presence of it is getting larger and larger, especially as as generations go. They're getting into social media younger and younger. Toad's Wild Ride said, I was surprised when I heard there was a candle community. I was even more surprised there's actual drama in the candle community. There's a community for everything. So I really shouldn't have been that surprised, but I was. Mila, I've been following all of them for a long time, and it's not what it started. That bothers me. It's what they are doing now, the aftermath. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, even as somebody who doesn't know what's going on with them, like doesn't know their history and stuff, it seems that if the issue started off with just him not being aware that they were married, if he wants to walk away from a friendship or a business friendship, whatever it really was, if he wants to walk away from it because of something like that, then walk away from it. Why? Like, they had this argument publicly, from what I understand. Why are they continuing to drag it out? Because at this point, they are dividing their community. That, like, they may not realize that that's what they're doing, but that's exactly what they're doing. And that's why there's certain things that, a lot of us don't talk about, even if we see, because we don't want to divide our community. We know we have similar, people across platforms. Does that mean that we're going to let, negative things openly go on? Absolutely not. But we're going to be more thoughtful because we don't want to break the community apart. Yeah, Smiley Mama said, especially if you're on social media, everyone wants to expose others. Yeah, social media relationships and friendships are, I feel like, even harder to try and talk about. Oh, you meant the community we're building. Okay, Dottie. That makes sense in reference to that. Well, we respected some people, but that's okay. It's water under the bridge. We've all moved on. Okay, so John Yates was the one who said it 3 times in 3 minutes. I mean, I have been open with you guys, and you guys have heard me curse. I don't have the most ladylike vocabulary. I curse a lot, and I do try to curb it online. I know sometimes I still slip. But a word like that comes with some very opinionated people. I personally don't, it doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by any nasty term other than racial terms, which I've never said, and I'm not even going to allude to what they are because they absolutely disgust me. And I know that that can be hypocritical, but to say it on a platform, something like that is shocking. Like, it's one thing to use the F word or, another curse word, which is super common, than to use a term like that, which definitely is super polarizing. They all have lost subscribers. I mean, that's not surprising if they're going to drag each other. Like, having a public falling out is one thing. Choosing to drag one another and like try to make the other person look bad it doesn't do any good for either of you. At the end of the day, some subscribers who maybe had followed both of you may agree with one person and unfollow the other, which will maybe boost their numbers in the short term. But that nasty behavior that caused all of that will continue to resurface. And those subscribers who were once loyal to both of you and chose one of you are probably going to feel a little bit foolish if you continue to repeat the same behavior. And that's the only thing with these people. I don't know them enough or their content enough to know if they're going to continue this behavior or if this behavior is new for either one of them or if this is repetitive. I don't know. I can't speak to their content. That's funny, Dottie. You can tell when there's not much to talk about. KJ inserts her foot. So yes, she inserted herself in this situation. I think she inserted herself because she wanted to have an opportunity to talk crap about these creators. Honestly, that's kind of how I feel, especially when you look at how Katie handles herself. Like, how can I word this with maybe, okay, what I'm going to say, I don't mean to diminish the Sophie case at all. You guys know that. But I think of the Sophie case in relation to how she inserted herself in this. She didn't talk about the Sophie case. Then she talked about the Sophie case, took a totally opposing side, which is fine. That's in her right. And then she used that to talk poorly about competitive other creators. She used that to talk poorly about Annie and Josh. And then it propelled her to continue to talk about them because it was something she knew they were going to continue to discuss. So I think Katie looks for things to insert herself on so she can actually have a reason to crap talk another creator. That's kind of the behavior I'm picking up from her. Watching all of this stuff unfold since I began watching her, this is a common thing that she does. She will do something with this goes as far back as Leslie, and I wasn't even around with Leslie, but I've heard about it. she got close to her, and then something happened, and then she utilized that, which from what I have been told, it was a misunderstanding, or Katie read too much into something, made something up, something along those lines, and then used that to bash Leslie. And then she has repeated this behavior on and on and on. And I don't know why she does it, because whenever she bashes a creator, it, as she has even said, it floods people to their channel, and people are realizing that she's not as bad at, whoever she was trashing aren't bad people, and it ends up she loses the subscriber and they gain the subscriber. Hey, Steph, how are you? Oh, I'm sorry you have a migraine. I hope you feel better. KJ's not, I don't know if that's necessarily true, Michelle. I think she likes to make people squirm. I think she actually like gets some kind of enjoyment out of making others feel bad. I think I missed Totes Wild Ride's comment. Jen said, I saw that total non-popular statement. I don't think we should be using the term Karen. It encompasses sexism, racism, and ageism all into one. Yeah, I can see where it does that. I've referred to, and I believe most people who maybe have referred to Katie as Karen is to be a little dig at her and to not fully give her the acknowledgement that she wants us to give her. I could see that, Melody. She said some people are literally addicted to conflict and drama and adrenaline rush. Yeah. I think especially for people who are on a social media platform, especially one like YouTube, where there is, you know, whether you're going to engage in the competition or not and make it a competition, there is competition on this platform because there's so many creators discussing the same thing. It really, I don't know why creators are allowing it to be something to drive a wedge between them or like make it a competition, because at the end of the day, it really boils down to the creator and the viewer. If the viewer is interested in how that creator speaks, how they upload their videos, what other content they are providing, there's a lot of things that can diversify each of us by, even though we cover the same thing. Yeah, Melody. I mean, it's kind of silly that, you know, as society, we've come up with these terms. But so I don't know if there's much else I can really provide about the Sherelle and John Yates stuff right now, because I still am trying to figure out what all is going on, what all has gone on. But since it was asked, and that is a friendship, I mean, it's been a public friendship, so we can actually talk about the topics more related to like our personal lives, how to handle certain situations, maybe get advice from one another. Yeah, no, Jen, I wasn't trying to state you didn't understand, like, I don't know if understanding, if you got the concept of how we were using it, but at the same time, you make a good point. I mean, it does perpetuate stereotypes. It's okay. I know what you guys mean. Usually I think all of our phones do typos, so we kind of can figure out what was meant to be said. So what kind of relationship talk do you guys want to have now? Do you want to talk about friendships still, or do you want to talk about like intimate relationships, like with partners? Yeah, you're right, Toad's Wild. A new term will end up replacing it. Give you guys a few minutes to think of anything. Melody wants to talk about friends. What kind of friends? What is a parasocial relationship? Did I miss a comment? Toad's Wild Ride said parasocial relationships, they fascinate you. What kind of parasocial? Like between like an influencer and their following, or in what terminology are you wanting to talk about? Yeah, I'm sorry. How to learn how to open up yourself up and letting a guy in when you saw so much bad relationships as a kid. Dottie, I got your DM and I am going to make a more in-depth video about some of that, but we can talk about that here. Hey, Amber. Yeah, parasocial relationships can, depending on how you interpret the definitions, because there's multiple definitions, is going to determine how I would discuss it. So that's why I'm asking, are they referring to like a YouTube relationship? Because that's probably the only one I can provide my stance on. We can talk about it from like our own opinions and like other opinions other than my experience. You have a friend who's much younger than you, who confides in you and is making some dangerous choices. So Melody, depending on what those choices are, if they are threatening to either herself or others, I would make sure you notify the appropriate people. If she's just making choices that you don't agree with, that's really when, as friends, we need to be able to maybe take a step back. And although you may not agree with what they're doing, we need to be able to evaluate the seriousness of the situation to determine if it really is something that serious for you to potentially lose the friendship over. Because we all know with friendships, no matter how long your friendship is, no matter how much you guys love each other or care for each other, confide in each other, there's always a possibility of it ending. The same thing with marriage. There's always a possibility of it ending. So we need to be able to take a step back and really evaluate if it's something that needs and has to be said. Hey, Diamond. Okay, so for everybody who was in one of my later lives and we were talking to Zell's the Destroyer, him and his wife were kind of commenting in the section and we were encouraging her to start a YouTube channel. She was talking about the nails that she did and we all seemed really impressed. Her YouTube channel is Clear as Crystal, and the Clear and Crystal are spelled with K's. So if you are still interested in supporting her and seeing more nail and probably, I'm assuming, beauty lifestyle stuff, go over to her channel and give her a subscribe from Wikipedia. It's okay, Jen. Doesn't help that I left the ultra-Orthodox Jewish world 10 years ago. No, we don't speak to guys unless... Dottie, I think I missed your original... Okay, yeah, I had mentioned that I got your DM, but I didn't actually address your question. So how to learn to open up and let a guy in when you saw so much. A lot of that I feel like is in like inspection into yourself. You know, we all experience things. We all end up with some kind of traumas. Unfortunately, as women, we're typically more vocal about traumas that we experience when it comes to relationships. Although men are just as likely to be experiencing some of those traumas that we experience, they're not as open to discuss them. I would try having an honest discussion with him and yourself. Make sure you are prepared to have that discussion with him and ease into it. If you start to talk about it and he doesn't seem to be reciprocating or listening to you, like actively listening to you, it would be a sign that maybe you're not ready to move on to the next step with that gentleman. And I don't want to speak ignorantly about your religion. I do not know a lot about the religion that you grew up in. It sounds like it was pretty strict. Usually when you say ultra in front of anything, it's going to be a pretty strict views. And I don't want to misinterpret or maybe miseducate somebody because I don't know enough about your religious background. Yeah, I got your photos on, or did you send me more? Like actual stance. See, and this is why I wanted clarification, because I wouldn't have talked about it from that point. So she wants some clarification about like actual stands, people who blindly follow, very cult-like. It's very weird behavior to see someone defending someone blindly while the other person, the other never acknowledges them. Sorry, I'm tired, so I'm all over the place. Man, that's a hard one to unpack. Like this one's hard for me to talk about because I am not that kind of person. I do not blindly follow anybody. Do I follow people who I don't know everything about? Yeah, but I follow them after a while. I'm not somebody who finds a person and just starts following them. I typically wait a little bit. I'm not saying I wait any long period of time. I usually wait to see a few posts, or I scroll through a few posts to see if it's content that I would like, whether that's on Twitter or on Instagram and even YouTube. I will typically, if I find a video and I like the content or I like the content creator, I will watch a couple of other videos, maybe not in full, but I will watch them to a degree before I subscribe or I follow that person. I don't have the kind of personality to just immediately fall into something and dive into it wholeheartedly. A little, like I haven't really experienced any like hardcore stands. Like this is going to be super embarrassing, but I have experienced it from like watching it from the outside. So I'm sure everybody knows the band BTS. About a year and a half ago, I found them and I really enjoyed their music. Even though I couldn't understand what they were saying, I enjoyed their voices. I enjoyed their performances. So I never called myself even a part of their army, as they call the following and fandom for them. But I started watching like YouTubers who talk about the band and their large following. And I do not understand. I don't know why it has become an okay thing and almost a normal thing at this point to blindly follow people. And it's going on all over. It's not even just in like the music world, like with that band. I mean, we have YouTubers like Jeffree Star, Tana Mojo, these large creators who are so problematic. And no, I feel like their hardcore stands, this is my personal opinion, is their hardcore stands could sit and watch another creator who's being as unbiased and just coming with facts as they can, laying out all the poor behavior and why that person is probably not the person you think they are, and they just won't even hear it. They won't even hear it. And I wish I could understand. I think a lot of people wish they could understand. That is something that I can't relate to at all. Hey, Zales, how are you? Lots of highs. I'm glad you guys are so supportive of each other and like address one another. It really means a lot to me. She hasn't done anything illegal. Morality and safety. Melody, are you not comfortable providing any additional information? I don't want you to do something that you're not comfortable doing or sharing, but without maybe knowing like a hypothetical. I don't know what other advice. I'm sure I have other advice and opinions, but without knowing specifics, I'm not sure if I would be able to elaborate more. Yay, yeah, you guys all make sure you go and subscribe to Clear as Crystal's channel once we get done. Or you can go do that now and come back, whatever's best for you. You haven't had the courage to even try. So, Dottie, I would really try to talk within yourself and maybe role play it with yourself. If you have a good friend or somebody that you trust and that you can confide in and maybe have those role plays with to see if it's something you're even ready for, I would suggest doing that. Anytime you experience anything super traumatic or you experience anything traumatic that somebody else has experienced, it can affect every aspect of your life. And I'm not sure of your example of your exact situation, but one thing that people don't realize is domestic violence relationships. They are super detrimental to children in those households. Whether or not either party, whether it be the survivor or the perpetrator, they may not be even aware that it is affecting a bystander. And I mean, it can be something to where it may be physical and the children don't even see it. Something as simple as consistent, constant yelling and berating one another, that affects your children. Of course, common disagreements or arguments between adults, that's not going to have any impact. You are typically able to explain those arguments to your children. But when you have a perpetrator and a survivor, typically there's no explanation to what's occurring because there's a perpetrator involved. It's not an innocent misunderstanding or a disagreement. It's a violent attack, whether it's a verbal, emotional, or a physical one. Children can see through that, and it affects them in their own relationships moving forward. And I don't even mean just romantic relationships. It affects friendships. It affects relationships with teachers. It affects their relationship with adults. I have seen this personally happen. Children who are in highly charged DV homes often shut off, and they don't trust anyone. and that's something that takes years of counseling, and that's if it's caught. Domestic violence is really hard for anyone to know is occurring, especially if it's not physical and there's nothing to actually be seen. It takes either the survivor or someone in a household just getting to their wits' end and saying enough is enough and telling somebody and getting agencies involved. Yeah, I know dating is hard, especially for everything with COVID only exacerbates and makes people go to online sources and apps. And there's a lot of people who don't want to utilize apps. And I don't necessarily say I blame them, they're scary. Yeah, Toads, and I see what you're talking about, the Katie community, and I've had conversations about this. I think the main thing with the people who are Katie stands, I am assuming from how I have seen things kind of play out that most of her fans that are like that are only watching particular content from her. They are like either only watching her Duggar stuff and they're not watching any of her other YouTube stuff. So I don't think they are aware of all of her behaviors. If you're not on Twitter, if you're not on Facebook, if you're not on the Reddit with her, you really don't see the whole picture with her. And a lot of people don't go cross-platform. I personally don't go cross-platform. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. The only things I hardly ever do there is scroll through to keep up with everybody else and to answer any DMs that you guys reach out to me with. Occasionally, I will try to promote my videos, but for the most part, I don't even participate on those platforms because I'm not interested in them. I'm not trying to gain a following on Twitter or Instagram, and not that I'm super trying to gain a following here either, but here I can at least communicate. I feel like those other social media platforms are almost just breeding grounds of toxicity. So I really don't want to be a part of that. And I don't want to build a community that could be at risk of other toxicity. I've seen it happen to too many creators to where I just don't want to be a part of that. The term stan is kind of scary considering the source material and YouTubers getting stans. Yeah, they're just way too hardcore, it seems. I don't know the mentality, and I don't know when that started to be a thing. I lost my spot in the chat. Darn it. And I'm way behind in the chat. I'm realizing. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I understand Tor being super skeptical, especially with some of the things you've experienced. I can 100% understand that. That's why the block button was invented. Okay, so okay, Melody, is that what's causing your concern? Is her place of work? Oh, Zales, I'd be cool if they left and came back. That doesn't bother me. I'm not weird like that. It's funny. I did always seem to go to the friend zone. Like, did you friend zone them or did they friend zone you? Because no matter which way it's been happening or has happened, it could be just because they can feel that you're not comfortable with going further than that, so they're not going to push it. And it could be you're placing those walls without even realizing it to allow them to go further than that. Does that make sense? Yeah, Zales, unfortunately, I mean, I know you're in New York, but unfortunately, it's predominant and prevalent everywhere. I'm from a really small town in Florida, and it is astonishing on how many times that would be a concern. I was clueless to that stuff when my kids were younger. When Tor, I want to say that that's so awesome that you were able to make that decision. Unfortunately, not a lot of people who are put into those situations, I say people because it goes both ways, don't have the strength or the ability to do that. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength for a survivor to be able to leave and kick out the perpetrator. It is so hard for that to happen. Absolutely, they were. Absolutely. Melody, I can see where your concern is with human trafficking with that work. All you can do, all the advice I will give you is if it's the work she wants to do and she's happy doing it, I would try if I were in your shoes, I would try my hardest not to judge her and to just always be supportive for her and to maybe put in place some kind of checks and balances if you're worried about her safety and the human trafficking being an element of that work, is just to put in place with her in agreement that, whenever her shift starts, that she contact you on your break, she contact you, put in some kind of checks and balances. That way, if you don't hear from her, you can have that conversation that you would be scared for her safety and you would contact authorities. I mean, that's a conversation you can have with her. If she is a true friend, she will understand where you're coming from, and you guys can negotiate some kind of plan so that you don't worry about her, because that's going to end up affecting your relationship long term if you are constantly worried about her safety and she maybe doesn't know that that's a worry of yours. With that, though, just be aware of where she's working, what kind of reputation that particular facility has, can also give you ease of mind. I've had friends who have done that as work before, and I knew where they were at. I knew the facility that they worked at was a safe one, so I didn't have concerns for their actual being while going to work. Happy not to be in the dating scene. Yeah, I've been with my husband for almost 10 years, so I'm grateful that I don't have to date in today's world, but I don't think I would do very well if I had to date in today's world. Yeah, Jen, that's good advice as well. Does stan mean? I don't know if there's an actual definition for stan, Amber. I think it's kind of understood that it's just like a hardcore, like all-consuming fan of someone or of a band or a YouTuber like Jeffree Star, or those Jeffree Star and Tana Mongeau are the most problematic YouTubers to me. So those are the two I always revert to. But people who are like such hardcore fans that no matter what they do, what they say, they are like gods to them. Melody, I don't know. Did I comment to what you put in the community page? I think I maybe had missed it because I didn't see that. It's a contraction. That is that the actual definition, Zales? Because it would make sense. I didn't know there was an actual definition for it. Yeah, I can definitely understand your concerns, Melody. I would just make sure that you are having those conversations with her. And if you have, you kind of have to at that point take into consideration how she responds to those conversations and move forward from there. If you haven't talked to her, if you're struggling with maybe ways to come up with talking to her, you can let me know and I will help you maybe configure how to bring it up. But I would definitely start with having a conversation. Okay. Yeah. And Dottie, if you haven't ever talked to, and you don't have to respond to this, and better yet, I'll make it general. If anyone in the chat has ever been either a witness to long-term domestic violence or a survivor of domestic violence, make sure you are getting appropriate help. Even if you're seeing a counselor for other mental health reasons, I would always reach out to an advocate for domestic violence. If you don't know an advocate, if you're in the States, you can dial *211. That will typically bring you to United Way, and they can tell you of all of the resources in your area. I would highly encourage you talking to a victim's advocate for domestic violence. They are going to be the starting point to help break down some of your barriers in your internal walls that you maybe have built up that you weren't even aware you did. And victims advocates are trained, especially if you're talking to a domestic violence victim advocate, they are trained in that particular survivor group versus just a general mental health counselor. Although mental health counselors are going to be able to help you break down those walls as well, they're not going to be as efficient and effective as somebody who's been trained in domestic violence. Oh man, I just lost my spot in the chat. Hopefully I can find it back. I had seen Melody, you had said you're honored she trusts you. So I'm assuming from that comment that you guys have already maybe talked about it. I would just maintain that close relationship and support of her. And if you see any behavior changes, because if she starts using substances, her behaviors are going to change. Just keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for pattern changes, behavior changes, mood changes, because if she is in any kind of life-threatening situation, which can occur from that line of work, you will be able to see signs. If you are super concerned that maybe it's starting, as weird as this may sound, start to journal it. That way when you go to address it with her, you can actually have points where you can bring up where you notice these changes occurring. If you really love someone and they love you in return, they're not going to find that as being weird or stalkerish. Although it sounds that way, that's not how I would perceive it. That's the advice I would give you. Yeah, unfortunately, domestic violence is very alive in a lot of places in the world, and it's not something that people are willing to openly discuss, and they should be, because survivors are not going to be able and comfortable to try and escape their situation if they don't know of the resources and the community that they will have for them. What most people don't know is there are almost every state and probably almost every county in every state have what are called safe houses for domestic violence victims, where if you call a hotline, they will put you in an undisclosed location where no one except for the people who work in the house know where it's at. So the perpetrator can never locate you while you go through the correct court proceedings and things like that to ensure your safety, as well as any children if they are involved, if you have children involved. Okay, well, I'm glad you guys talk openly, Melody. That's awesome. Hey, Petra. Sorry it's taken me a minute. I got super behind. Yeah, Dottie, that's good. I'm glad you are. And if you haven't talked to somebody who specializes in it, if it's something that is available to you, I would maybe seek out that resource as well. Bye, Totes. Hope you have a good night. Is there any other relationship, either friendship or other kind of relationship questions that you guys want to talk about? I don't know, from all the serious parts of relationships and friendships we've talked about in this last bit, I don't really know where to go from that point. Did I miss a comment of yours, Jen, that you haven't talked to a friend from earlier this year? Did you disclose or talk about a situation you had and I missed it? That's awesome, Dottie. Being able to break down the stigma and talk about your situation or maybe some things you have experienced, for me, has always helped me feel empowered in a way. Even if I don't get the response from people I anticipate or I expect, still putting myself out there and talking about it and like letting people know my truth and the life that I have walked has been super empowering for me. Not only in why I started my channel and some of the other stuff on my channel that you guys know about, but in more recent situations which have occurred online. I lost myself there for a little bit, and I think you guys kind of saw that. And recently, I've been able to gain that power back. And I'm happy I have, because I shied away from something I typically wouldn't. And a lot of it had to do with other things going on that had just compiled all together. Not in this live. Jen, you know I have a bad memory, and I'm super sorry. I can't particularly pinpoint what scenario it was or which live you had talked about. Okay, you had a few friends basically mock you for my opinions on how we should be behaving with the virus, and I stopped talking to them. One of them tried to get in contact, but I'm okay with letting that go. If you are okay with letting the friendships go, and this goes for any kind of friendship, if you go a period of time and you don't have contact with them and you don't find yourself missing them, unfortunately, it goes to show you were probably putting more into that friendship than what you were receiving, because you don't miss them. You don't feel the loss of the friendship. So and it happens to all of us. We all have friends that we think are better friends because we spend all day with them, or we work with them, we see them regularly, whatever the circumstance is. But once they're no longer there, you don't find yourself missing them. Excuse me, I shouldn't have taken a drink of that soda. If you don't find yourself missing them, then the friendship wasn't as deep as what you maybe had thought it was. I'm sorry you were mocked. I don't think this virus has been super opinionated. And, I mean, that goes for a lot of things in the world right now. I don't think people should be allowing it to dictate their friendships. But again, if it's something that your friendship can be broken up that easily over, I don't know if that friendship was worth your time. And even when it comes to some family, I know I'm not going to talk about the politics of anything, but some of my mom and her relatives at one point kind of had a little bit of a falling out over some political stuff. And I don't follow politics, especially not close enough to ever talk about. And, I kind of told her, from somebody who wasn't involved in the politics, just to let it go for now. Their family, you love them, they love you. And in time, that familial bond will repair. And if it doesn't, then I guess maybe you guys had grown apart. That's the exact situation you found yourself in. I'm lighter. Actually, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like in any kind of relationship, marriage, friendship, work relationship, there's ups and downs and everything. Sometimes you're giving more and sometimes you're taking more. A good, healthy relationship is able to go through those ebbs and flows. And yeah, there's going to be some bumps along the ride, but as long as you're able to have the communication, all relationships, the primary issue boils down to communication. A lot of the dramas that happen online boil down to a communication issue. I mean, I've said that in other videos that I've done talking about other creators. I mean, it typically can be, if it's a falling out between two people, it's either it's us being human, creators being human getting in the way, or lack of communications getting in the way, or a combination of both. No matter what scenario, one person or both parties are always going to feel like the other did them wrong or did them dirty. That doesn't necessarily mean that one's right and one's not. Of course, there are scenarios where that is the case, where somebody was done dirty and the other really had nothing to do with it. But I mean, that's life. We're not always going to be treated fairly. We're not always going to be treated with kindness. It is what it is. You just have to be willing to pick yourself up and move on and find better friends. Yeah, your key to friendship is treating people how I want to be treated. I agree with that sentiment 100%. I've always tried to give the respect and the appreciation to people that I want in return. Um, you, you know, we both in friendships, and obviously you guys do that in your marriage as well. I mean, it's a key component to having any successful relationship with anybody, whether that's a friendship or an intimate relationship. And like I said, like in every relationship, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be, I'm sure with you guys being together for 15 years, you've had your rough patches. Everybody does. It's how you work through them and how you guys overcome them, which ends up continuing said relationship. Yeah, you would never just brush your concerns away and then mock you for it. Yeah, there's a whole thing with like mocking people. I don't understand why, unless you're doing it in a context to like be funny, and even then, like half the time those jokes fall short. I don't understand why mocking is a thing of any person, especially when you know them personally, or you've had any kind of interaction with them, whether that be on YouTube. Like YouTube creators will mock each other, and we see where it's gotten Katie. Like Katie has mocked some of the teen moms, and people drag her for it, and there's always creators mocking others for stuff that's not even worth mocking. And if you're going to mock something serious, you need to look into yourself a little bit. You think that's how you should treat anyone you meet? I would always try to be the very least cordial with someone. Yeah. Good on you, Michelle. 22 years. Yeah. You're always growing and learning when you're in a committed relationship with someone. Yeah. And so I never tried to be mean to anybody. I have been told that I appear cold cold in person. And I know I do. I know I put up a front. I'm typically, just straight faced. When I'm meeting people, I'll say hi to you, but I'm not going to necessarily go out of my way to learn everything about you. And a lot of that is me and how I'm working on myself. Those are issues I have from the traumas I have experienced, the barriers and the walls that I have put up. It's something I always work on. It's something I address with anybody I'm working with. That way they kind of know I'm not being rude. It's just my personality. In time, I will soften up. But I just always try to have that open communication, especially with people I work with. Yeah, I saw the Star Wars talk. I kind of was skimming through it because I had gotten so far behind. I'm assuming you guys are Star Wars fans then. You're usually kind of a grouch, but found yourself becoming warmer as of late. Yeah, I'm not. Turned you into a hippie. I'm not mean. I know I'm not mean, but I don't try to be flowery. I mean, how I present to you guys is how I present. I don't try to be over theatric or, try to be super friendly. I mean, I am who I am. Can I be silly and bubbly and, super excited? Yeah, I can be, and I am. But it's weird to me to sit in front of a camera and try to be all like, hi guys, like that's Katie does that. I can't stand the fake baby voice. I'd rather you guys just see me for who I am than to try and constantly, every time I'm on here, try and fake a persona. I'm sorry you don't feel well, Mila. Have a good night. Tonight is just not a good night for people feeling well, it seems. It's not good. You're a big Star Wars fan. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I mean, I've watched all the movies, and I mean, I know most of the storyline. My husband's a bigger fan of Star Wars than I am. You don't think you could? Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't be able to handle that. Yeah, see, I'm not a I don't want to I don't think I can like say that I'm a fan because I don't know enough about, although I've watched the movies, I don't retain it. Almost every time I watch them, I get confused again. Because I just don't retain that kind of stuff. So I don't think I could ever call myself a fan. I can't recite anything. I don't want to what's the term? Disrespect the community of the Star Wars. The Mandalorian was awesome. My husband and I recently rewatched it. Four times in the theater? Goodness gracious. I can't watch movies in the theater. I can't watch a full movie at home. I don't have the attention span for it. Star Wars and Star Trek. Yeah, have I even seen Star Trek? I don't even know if I have. Probably. I probably have. I did not, Dottie. I did not see the behind the scenes of making The Mandalorian. When you were a teen. Okay, I could see it when you're a teenager going multiple times. Now it's like once or twice a year. I don't even go. I will go maybe once a year, and that my husband has to really convince me to go. For you guys, it has. So where I'm at, I'm not saying COVID wasn't here because it was, but we went on like the lockdown for like 2 weeks. That's as long as it, like, our area was in lockdown. We still have to like abide by mask wearing and 6 social distancing. But aside from that, like, our movie theaters are open. Everything here is open. You want a Baby Yoda? Baby Yoda is cute. Yeah, I don't even know who Commander Data is. You got a Baby Yoda bobblehead. I don't think we've gotten anything Baby Yoda in our house. He is cute though. And I mean, companies jumped on that and they were smart to do so because the popularity with that is just crazy. Jen's having a huge spike right now. I don't know if where I'm at will have a spike. Probably not where I specifically am. I could see some bigger places around us maybe getting one. Yeah, everybody's I mean, I've heard people say that, hey, Dark Lily, I've heard people say that Baby Yoda is so ugly, he's cute, but I really don't think I've seen the criticism that he's just ugly. It is where you are. Yeah, I think it's kind of happening in a lot of places, to be honest. It never got too crazy where I'm at to begin with. We definitely had cases and like we did have some deaths, but not not too bad. All right, guys, I'm almost getting to the 2 hour mark. Is there anything else in relation to the open discussion chat that you want to talk about? Any questions or any scenarios you guys want to talk about? A lot of people where you are don't wear masks or social distance. I'm surprised in New York that people are doing that. It's such a highly populated area. That's insane. I will admittedly say I hate wearing a mask. However, I will wear one in public and I will try to be mindful of the 6 feet. I'm not going to say I always adhere to it because at times I just forget. I mean, even though I have a mask on my face, I will forget and end up walking too close to somebody. And then I feel bad once I realize. But I'm surprised in such a populated area that people aren't being more considerate. Yeah, definitely leave a comment with your channels once it posts, which clear as crystal. I will tell you it. I don't ever know when they're done processing. Sometimes it takes a couple of days. I don't know what the problem is. So just be wary of that. I'm glad you got some good advice out of it, Dottie. Hi, Saya. You're in New York City and everyone you see has one. The only time you don't wear one is when you're running or skating. See, I could feel, I mean, I don't know. I've never been to New York. I've never been to, well, I don't want to say that. I've never been to New York. So I don't know how your streets are. I would be super uncomfortable having to wear a mask outside, especially if it's hot. Night, Amber. Thanks for stopping in. They are breathable. Yeah, I have some masks that are breathable. I think it really boils more down to a couple of other issues, which are just me issues more than anything other people's issues. The fact that I've had asthma before and that I was a smoker up until like 2 months ago, I think is more of why I don't want to wear a mask than anything else. I don't think he assumed you were calling him rude. He makes it hard to breathe, I'm sure. No, Jen, I don't think your comment came off that way. I knew what you meant. See, he did too. I think it's common for people, and that kind of goes to, thank you, Dottie. That kind of goes to speak to, internet culture, is the fact that like in a live chat, you may mistype and you're so afraid of offending people because if you offend someone, you know that you might get called out or like you might end up flocking people to judge you or to harass you over a typo. So you like immediately think, oh no, I have to, address that it was a mistake. It shouldn't. The internet communities to me should not be taken that seriously. Yeah, my typing is bad on my phone too. Most of you guys know I moderate for Radiant Brit, and not her last live, I couldn't attend that one, but the one before that, I tried to moderate from my phone. I was doing all kinds of typos. I finally just stopped trying to engage in the conversation and was just trying to acknowledge people because I kept messing up, and then it was a whole mess. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I wasn't there for Brit's live last night. I listened up until about the last 30 minutes. I was just listening to see if anything had happened to where she needed another mod. I told her I would hop in. I was doing stuff at work. So I was in the background. I just wasn't participating, which is kind of sad because I'm talking about dogs right now, especially the two that I have left with me, would have probably been healthy for me to participate in that chat. But it was nice just to listen. It took you 15 minutes to type a sentence. Yeah. You were lurking too, Dark Lily. Yeah, I told her prior to, because she usually lets me know when she's going to go live. I told her prior to I probably was just going to be listening. But with that one, I don't like, it was a good one for me to listen to. I think it really could have gone either way for me to have actually engaged in the chat. Because it's still, although I'm a lot better and I've gone through a lot of the grieving already, there's still points where, when we lose a pet or something like that, or a person, you may seem okay, and then it just takes that one comment that you read or that one thing that's said that, spirals you back. It makes you super sad again. So not that Brit's chat would have been like that, but I say that because I assumed I would have handled it well, but like actually thinking about it, maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe it was a good one. I wasn't feeling compelled to respond to people. But yeah, I mean, it's just losing pets is hard. I think I am gonna go. Dogs are the best. They're loyal. Yeah, definitely. They're a commitment. They're like having a kid. They really are. They're like having a toddler. But I think I am going to go for the day. I know a lot of people have already jetted off as we've gone. You guys want a dog? Yeah. Zales, I don't know if I think you started coming into the lives after. I recently lost a dog. I had to put a dog down last Monday very unexpectedly. I still have two. I had to put down my male husky. He was 8 years old, but I still have two dogs. I have a 5-year-old female husky who has made some cameos in some of my videos and in some of my lives. And then I have a 2-year-old chocolate lab who is just too much of a goober to get on film. I think maybe his rear end has been in the back of a video before. Night, Dottie. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay, guys. I appreciate the condolences. It's something I've already talked about. I just didn't want you guys to feel like, what is she talking about? Yeah, that's kind of why her live would have been hard for me. But I still have two that take up all of my time, so that's fine. So for everyone who's left, make sure you pay attention. Either go look for Clear as Crystal, that's with K's, and subscribe to her channel. And if you can't find it, she'll post a comment under this live whenever she can. You know what you could do, Diamond? You could go to my community tab and just post your YouTube channel there where everybody polled for this live. And I could direct people to go to the community comment section. Whatever you're comfortable with. You also like the live sensibility. Yeah. So just so you guys know, I don't have any other pre-recorded film videos. As you can tell, I still haven't done my nails. I got the notification that they should be arriving to my house on Friday or Saturday. So as soon as they get here, I will film that and upload that for you. There is a video or two I'm thinking about doing. I just don't know if I want to stir the pot. So I don't know if I will have one up in the next couple of days. If not, I will be live over the weekend, and I will let you guys pick what time of day on whichever day I pick. So just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on the community tab. That's where I put all the polls for everything. Okay, yeah, whatever is best for you, Diamond. I don't care. I want you to promote your channel on here as much as you can. I'm not weird about stuff like that. So with all of that being said, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your night, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.